All right, in order to understand what we're going to do today, I have to give you a little bit of introduction. I think we covered this in previous shurim, but just in case you know it already, it can't hurt to just hear it again. For those of you who weren't here before, when God created the world, He didn't just, as you may have read, or make a big bang and the world came into existence. There were many things that happened beforehand. And it's important to understand what happened before the world, because many of the things that happened in the world that we live in had a precedent in the previous stages. There were many spiritual actions and ongoings before the physical world came into existence. There were worlds which were created and destroyed in the spiritual realm. They weren't at all material or physical. They were only spiritual creations. You call them worlds. It's a word we used. But they were, let's call it, energies of certain kind. That's something which is closer to what we understand in the spiritual world. Certain kinds of kochot, energies, or lights that were created and destroyed, and created and destroyed, until Hashem came to a certain conclusion of this is the kind of system that I want. I've created this system first spiritually in energy form, and then it will have its foundation upon which I can make a physical world that we know. It's like, when you go build a building, you don't just build the building out of your imagination. You first of all think about it, then you put it down on paper, we call a blueprint, and from the blueprint you make the building. Then you bring all the materials and try to match your blueprint. Or the
Doesn't Shem know everything? Why? It sounds like he made a mistake.
No,
Why is this trial when he already knows what?
it wasn't a mistake.
No, I know it's a mistake, but he already knows what's perfect.
You may think of it as a mistake, but it wasn't a mistake. It was planned that way. It was planned that way, that he would make it and destroy it. That was part of the plan. That had to be part of the plan. That's the way his infinite wisdom figured it out. That's the way, okay.
Why?
Well, okay, the why isn't very... So let's worry about the what first, before the why.
Tune in next week.
Because when you have the blueprint and you build a beautiful house, you just say, oh, we break it down, we build it a second. And nobody, you look ahead that you have a house, you build it what. So now,
that's the way,
to connect with that is the question.
We all understand watching to make something and create and destroy it.
Destroy it.
Don't make it to begin with. If you're going to destroy it.
That's what I'm struggling a long time already with the question. Why Hashem built the world of the dinosaur and destroyed everything? That's exactly to connect with your question.
That's exactly what we said. Why make something if you're going to destroy it afterwards, right?
You could have made it perfect, without flaws.
Oh,
He didn't know that the people that he created.
Well, let's try to give an answer. Let's try to give an answer that we can understand. We can't go into Hashem's mind. It's not shy to go into Hashem's mind. But we can understand something, when you create something, even though you may destroy it, it's not as if you didn't create anything. You created something. Something happened, something positive happened when you created something. And even if you destroyed it, does that mean there was no creation before him? No, there was something there from that creation. It does leave something. You cannot totally obliterate everything that you created. When you make something, something remains even though you destroy it. In the same way, Hashem had a reason for making that spiritual creation and then making it collapse and rebuilding it. Yes?
This is what Odo is saying related to the Shemitot.
Yes. Yes. That's it.
What was your question, Yaakov?
I'll tell you what he has. He has, is it created, is connected to Shemitah. His question is what we're talking about connected to Shemitah.
Yeah.
The answer is yes. What does that mean, connected to Shemitah? We know of Shemitah in Eretz Yisrael every 7 years. You have a Shemitah. But there is also such a concept in the spiritual world. And we know that there's also a concept of Yovel. 7 Shemitahs, 49 years, after which you have a 50th year, which is Yovel. The same exact thing could have happened in the spiritual world before we got to this world. There could have been 7 cycles before we got to this. And finally we got to the physical world. So it's connected, certainly connected, yes.
I learned about Shemitah the 7 years, I don't know about the 50th year.
Well, that even in Eretz Yisrael, in the Torah, it's mentioned. The halacha of Yovel, after the 50th year, everything goes back to its original state. For instance, and this has to do a lot with real estate. People who are in real estate business have to know this very well. Because if you sell land, the Torah requires that at the 50th year, all land is returned to its original owner. The original owner. So if I sell you property in the 43rd year, in 7 years from now, you're going to have to forfeit that property. So you're not going to pay so much for the land because you're only going to have it for 7 years. And you only have it 7 years.
But the original owner is Hashem, so...
It means the original owners, the Shvatim who came into Eretz Yisrael, all the Shvatim, right, who came into Eretz Yisrael, when the Shemitah started, it was 14 years after they came, in Yeshua with the Jews came into Eretz Yisrael, when they conquered Eretz Yisrael, it was 7 years of war, till they were able to get rid of all the Goyim, and 7 more years to divide up the land amongst all the Shvatim, and then Shemitah started. The count of Shemitah started. So after 50 years, the land goes back to the original Shevet.
So how do you become an original owner?
When you came into Eretz Yisrael, all the tribes were given a plot of land, a certain area of land. That was theirs. That's it. That was the way it was divided up. Yoshua and his Bezdin divided up Eretz Yisrael among all of the Shvatim.
12 tribes.
It was done by a goral. By some kind of a raffle.
Was the 7 years that they battled for the land similar to like a Shemitah also, since it's 7?
No. Well, I don't know if they started counting actually from the first 7. I think they started counting after they settled the land. When they say after the line was divided up, so it was 14 years after they came in, 7 years of war and 7 years of dividing up the land. I don't know why it took 7 years, but that's what I read from the books. 14 years.
Each
It was like
tribe
a coincidence that you have a 7 and another 7, it ties into 7 years of the Shemitah.
Well, okay.
Seems like there's some connection with that.
Each tribe was given a part of the land according to the size of the population of the tribe.
Fine. Okay. All right, I don't want to get distracted from what we're supposed to be learning here.
Come back.
All right, so let's get back to the spiritual world again. Before the world was created, this concept already existed of worlds and being connected and disconnected and being built and be destroyed. Now, what was the final blueprint, the final conclusion after all the destruction? Hashem created a system of number 10, what we call 10 sfirot, 10 spheres, 10 spiritual energies. And these energies, these 10 spiritual energies, have always to be connected. And everything in the world that we have in the physical world is built on that number of 10. It's always 10. In our bodies, it's split up into 10 also. How do we find 10 in our bodies? Where do we find the 10 in our bodies? Besides the 10 fingers you have on your hands. But I'm talking about the entire body is divided up into 10. This is Kabbalistic and Hasidic terminology. I'll very show you how you have 10. The head. The head takes up 3. You have Keser, the crown. You have Chachma on the right side. You have Bina on the left side. That's 3. Now I have my right arm is number 4. Chesed. Gvura. That's 2 more, is 5. Then they have the torso, is 6. Then they have the right thigh, 7. Left thigh, 8, and means the entire leg. Bris Mila is 9. Where's number 10? Where's number 10? Huh? What is number 10? Where is it?
Above.
No. Number 10 is your wife.
What?
One's wife.
What happens if you don't have a wife? You only have 9?
So you have 9. They have 9. But it doesn't mean your wife. It means somebody who you give to.
So women don't have any?
They have their own 10. Sure. They have their own 10.
So their 10th is their husband?
Not really. Not really. Maybe it's like their children that they're giving over to. It's somebody you have to give to. If a woman is a caretaker, she's just taking care of somebody else and she's giving.
Women take, only men give. Men.
It's all relative, all relative, all relative.
Rabbi, what about dots?
See me?
Many times in the spheral, we don't include dots.
Oh, that's not an official sphere. It's not an official sphere. So I'm just showing the 10. Now these 10, very important. What keeps them together? What keeps the 10 together? What holds them together? This is all spiritual. It's not like a screw. You screw it in and it stays together. What keeps it together? Hashem's input, His spiritual connection. He keeps them together. They always have to be one big unit. All 10 have to be one unit. Now, let's take, for instance, the Arba Minim. Okay, think about the Arba Minim for a moment. All right? We have the Lulav, Hadassim, Aravos, and the Esrog. Correct? 4 things. Lulav, Hadassim, Aravos, Esrog. We call it Arba Minim. If you think about it, how many pieces are there in the Arba Minim? The Lulav is 1, correct? The Hadassim is 3, that's 4, correct? The Aravos is 2 more, 6. And the Esrog is 7. So we have 7, and the top 3 are missing. Why is the top 3 are missing? Because the Lulav and the Esrog are supposed to bring all kinds of wonderful energies to the physical world. The top 3, which I left out, if we go back to the example of the human being, top 3 is Kesef Chachma Bina. From here down, you have 7. From here down, you have 7, and the top 3 over here. This is like the major fuse box. The major fuse box. That's what we call the mochin. The moch is the brain. All of the energies that are going to be expended and activated are in the body. The body is what's functioning. The mind is controlling. Up here are the control boxes, up here. The lulav and the Arba Minim are like the body. They're like the body. And all of the 7 have to be connected. They have to be, it's all one unit. Now there was, in the early times of the Rishonim, one person who said, you know, I'm going to hold in one hand the lulav and the hadassim and the aravos. It's all connected, all tied together, right? And in the other hand, I'm going to hold the esrog. And I'm going to make the bracha this way. Asher kedushanim alatilas lulav. In this hand has the lulav with the hadassim and the aravos. In this hand has the esrog. So we had a dream. It's put down in the Rishonim. We had a dream of something which was, I don't remember exactly what the details of the dream were, but the dream was telling him, what you're doing is wrong. You can't have it this way. You have the lulav in this hand and the esrog in this hand. That's not the way. You're separating the 7. You have 6 in one hand and 1 in the other hand. This is the way to do the mitzvah. All 7 have to be together. No breaking up. No breaking up. And that's the way we have to do it when we do the mitzvah. All 7 have to be together because they all influence the entire Bria, and the Bria has to be unified, has to be one. It has to be one. There's no such thing as breaking things up. If you break it up, it's as if you're breaking up Hashem himself, so to speak, because Hashem is the pneumius of all of that. What's inside of all of these is Hashem himself. If you break up the outside, it's as if you're saying they're breaking up the inside too. You can't do that. Everything is supposed to be one big unit, that's all. That's what Hashem wants. He wants always this concept of achdus. Always achdus. Now, to understand, I gave you the page 142. You look at the last paragraph of 142. Ayin Vav. You see that, Ayin Vav?
Ayin Vav.
Look what it says. Shemaiti mimori. I heard from my Rebbe. Who is my Rebbe? The Baal Shem Tov. Hein b'seidu halimud, hein b'tfilah. Whether a person is learning Torah or he's davening, im hu mevin perish hamilos b'tfilah. If he understands what he's saying, davening, umevin pshat ha'alacha b'limudo, when he understands what he's learning, az mekasher malchus shu dibur el habdina shu machshava l'divrei pi chacham chen. That's what the Rosh Tevos are. Now listen to this. To explain what we just said just now, we have to go back to the human being, saying the human being is a live replica of the system of 10, of the network of the 10. Now I just gave you the entire human being as the general map, but you know, this holy books tell us in the head itself we can also split it up into 10. We can also split up the head into 10 too. We have the top 3, then we have the eyes, we have the nostrils, we have the ears, and we have the mouth. Right? So already in the head, we already have
10.
Another set of 10. What is the mouth representing in that set of 10? The mouth represents the last level, malchus. Malchus. In the head you have keser, chokhmah, bina. Bina is in charge of understanding, of processing. The chokhmah is what receives from above. It receives general energy. It transfers it over to the left side, gives it to the bina. The bina processes it and makes it available to the lower parts of the person, and it comes out in the mouth. The mouth is where it's expressed. Just like, as we said, in the general, I would say, network, where you have the man has 9 and the woman or the mother would be the 10th, she then takes what she gets from the man and gives it over to the children, or whoever she's taking care of, she is the one who executes. So in the same way also, the peh is the executor, it gives out. So he says, if you use your mind when you're davening, and when you're saying, you have your mind and the davening, you're saying the words, you are connecting the peh, the malchus, to the machshava, which is something which is good, because you're showing that there's no separation. You want them to be connected. You want everything to be work in a synchronized way. So you have to realize, if you understand what you're saying in the davening, you understand what you're saying in the learning, so it's the mind that is working together with the malchus, and there is a yichud. Everything we do should have some way of connecting, always connecting. Let me tell you something, an amazing thing that you may not have heard before. Some of it's quite, I would say, popular now, but listen to this. We're always interested in yichud and combining things. The simple act, now when we say combining things, we're always trying to do it in various ways with symbols. Now you have the Shem Hashem, Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, right? Shem Hashem. That's, we call that the tetragrammaton, something like that, right? No, is that the word tetragrammaton, or the ineffable name? Those 4 letters are a representative of the system of 10. The system of 10 is represented in those 4 letters. How you see the system of 10 is represented in those 4 letters? Very simple. Very simple. The last hey is the malchus. Then you have the vav right before that. That's the 6 other sections. It's chesed, gvura, teferetz, netzach, hod, yisod. It's 6. It's chesed, gvura, teferetz, netzach, hod, and yisod. That's a 6. What's the first hey and the first yud? What's that? We just did the first. We did the vav and the last hey. The first hey and the yud. So the yud is chachma. Is the right side is chachma. The hey is bina in the head. Where is the keter? Where's the keter? The keter is, where is that?
Yeah.
If you'll take a look at the yud has a little spitz on top. A little spitz on top. That's the 10th one. That's the keter. A little spitz on top. It's on top. So in the yud hey vav hey, you have the system of 10. Now listen to this. This is absolutely amazing. It's one of the most beautiful things that I ever saw, and I do it every single day. And I'm asking you to do it too, and it's a wonderful thing. It makes it so much more meaningful. Somebody comes over to you and asks you for tzedakah. Simple act. You take a coin out of your pocket, give him in his hand it's tzedakah, right? Let's use that to make a connection, to make a yichud of the Yud Hey Vav Hey. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? Let's think for a minute. I have a coin. This is the Yud. This little coin's the Yud. Good. My hand has 5 fingers. That's the Hey. My outstretched arm, that's the Vav. And the hand that is receiving is another Hey. We have there Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. I have now made a yichud of the 4 letters of the Shem Hashem, and I have made again a unifying act. That's what the Baal Shem Tov says, and the Arizal says, that everyone should think of when he's giving tzedakah. You're not just giving tzedakah to help somebody out. You're making a yichud. You're making a unification of this concept of the energies in the world which Hashem wants to be unified. Being all one unit. Very simple.
Is it pushkalaga hey?
Well, yes. It doesn't have 5 fingers, but it's the receiving end. It's the receiving end. So, but you have to think about it. If you don't think about it, you're not doing it. It requires the kavanah. It requires the kavanah. The yud, hey, vav, hey. The receiving is the hey. Just think of that when you do it, and you're doing a great thing. The quality of the tzedakah that you gave is 1,000 times worth more.
What if you give tzedakah to a box?
That's what he asked.
That's what
I know, but I didn't hear what he said.
See, he just called it a pushka, that's all. The pushka becomes the other hay. It becomes the other hay. It becomes the receiving end. There are hands that are going to take the money out of that. Someone's going to take it out of the box, right? So the hands that take it out. Yes? What do you want to say, Gabriel? Want to say something?
Yeah, the concept of 10, we don't find that in the week, in the 7 days, but what is interesting, the communists in Russia, they started with a week with 10 days to get more working days. It didn't come out. That's a natural rhythm in the human
Yeah,
being.
there have been many attempts in history to change the system.
France did that.
So why the week is 7? That's
Because that's the way Hashem made it.
Yeah.
7 days of creation, and Shabbos is the 7th. That's how Hashem created the world. It should work that way.
It wasn't 10. But
Hashem could have made 15. He could have done anything more. But he chose 7.
No.
Hashem chose 7. You can't change what God had in mind for the world. That's the way it is. You can't do it. Right. Okay, so that was what we just learned here in Ayin Vav. Now I gave you the next page.
I'm sorry, can you go back one more time? What is the mouth? Which one is that?
The mouth represents the execution, Malchus. That's the lowest level. That's like the last hay. It's like the last hay. Why is it called Malchus?
Yeah, king has
Now, many years ago, I was always wondering about it. Why is it Malchus to be up on top, right? The king's kingdom seems to be up on top. Why is the Malchus at the beginning and at the end?
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Right.
I think it's connected with the speech of the king.
Well, there's two answers. The answer that I gave many years ago is only half the answer. I came to myself because, let's say, we down here, human beings, and this world, how would you look at this world and human beings in lieu of the entire system, of the system of 10? That there are 10 spiritual energies. The last one is Malchus, is also a spiritual energy, but Malchus, as it goes further and further down, and it becomes more and more distant from its original source, eventually turns into something physical. So you and this and this and this, everything that we see, everything that we live in,
It's physical.
buildings, trees, the sea, the sky, this is all another way of manifesting Malchus. Different forms of Malchus. That's what we all are. We are all manifestations of Malchus. The real Malchus is something spiritual, but there is a lower form of it which manifests itself in the physical world, not the spiritual world, and it turns into something which is material. The entire physical world is a manifestation of that lowest level called Malchus.
Could my mouth
Is the mouth
to spirituality
Huh?
from taking from the
No,
mouth?
I'm talking about
Spiritually the physical.
No, I'm talking about the world in general. I'm talking about the world in general. The world in general, the physical world in general, is really a spiritual world which has just transferred itself, transformed its manifestation into something physical. But the true essence of it is spiritual. The true essence of what we're in now, this whole world that we live in, is the true essence is spiritual. And it's part of Malchus. Another way to describe that, a synonym to describe that word, is the Shekhinah. It's a synonym for the Malchus. And it's very important what I just said. Very important what I just said.
Rabbi, isn't Malchut the emergence of a new state of mind?
to connect back
No,
to
no,
the
no, no.
Ketzer?
Wait. So let me get back to this a minute. So to get back to Elio's question, why is Malchus the lowest level? Now it should be Malchus' kingdom. It should be the highest level. The answer is the way God created the system is that what we do here has an effect on the spiritual worlds. What we do here has an effect up there. That's an amazing thing. We would say, we're down here at the very bottom of the totem pole. We should be always on the receiving end. Whatever comes down, we just receive it, that's all. But it's not that way. It's not that way. We do receive. And we're always asking for Hashem to give us. We want to receive. We want to receive. But the way we receive depends on our behavior. If we are worthy of receiving, then we receive. But if we're not worthy of receiving, then we sort of disconnect and we don't get the full flow of energy, which leaves room for all the maladies in the world. When everything is flowing as it should, and we are the proper receptacles, then everything works wonderfully. There's no malady, there's no tragedy, there's no accidents. Everything works in the way it's supposed to. Because everything's getting the light coming down from above, and it's just pumping us with wonderful positive energy. But when we are not Beseder, when this world becomes corrupted, so we're not worthy to get that energy. And if we don't get the energy, things go out of order. All kinds of things that are not supposed to happen. Sickness, death, tragedies of all kinds. Weird things happen that are not supposed to happen because the energy is not flowing properly. So we, in a sense, are melachim. We do have that malchus aspect, is that we are also determinant of what's going to come down. Hashem is always flowing. He's always giving the flow. But if we do things which are improper, we disturb that flow. We do things which are proper, we strengthen the flow. So that, in that sense, we are also malchus. Even though we're at the bottom end, our behavior, our thoughts, our speech influences the flow that comes down, and therefore we are, in a sense, like malachim. I'll give you a very practical example. Let's say you have a relationship between a husband and a wife. Husband goes out and works. He's the provider, and when he works, he gives over to his wife, gives food, clothing, money. She takes care of the house. He's working, and okay. Everything works well when they all are in harmony with each other. Everything works well. He does his job, she does her job, and he's very happy to supply with whatever she needs. What happens if she doesn't do what she's supposed to? She doesn't behave herself. In many ways, whatever it is, she's not doing her job. They have a contract, a marriage contract. He has to do his share, she has to do her share, and she's not doing her share. What happens? Well, you think I'm going to give you like I always gave you? You're not behaving yourself, so take care of yourself. I'm not going to be concerned. You're not roy. You're not worthy for me to give you. We have a contract. You're not fulfilling the contract. You're breaking the contract. I'm not going to give you. Something logical. Two people have an agreement. One person violates the agreement. Okay, so my side also I'm not required to give you because you're not fulfilling your side of the contract.
What happens if the husband doesn't fulfill the contract? What is the wife going to say?
It's a good question. I'm just giving you a marshal. Yeah, that's also a problem, of course. But let's not get distracted with the marshal. That's only a marshal.
Or we have attorneys. You know, you were talking about the mouth. I was always taught you have to be careful what you speak because you create the reality with your mouth.
That's correct. Absolutely.
So this connects kind of with...
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now, so we're saying, in a sense, that the wife or the receiving end, she's the Malchus, correct? It's Malchus. So one of the reasons we say that she's Malchus is because she influences what's coming down. She has a direct influence on the energies coming down. If she behaves, everything's going to flow wonderfully. She doesn't behave, it's not going to flow wonderfully. So she is a determiner. A determiner is a melech. But even more so, the wife is also a mother. And she has all of the children underneath her to be melech over them. So in a sense, we understand very well now why Malchus is called Malchus. Why the name Melech? Number one, it influences what's going to come down from on top. And it also is directly in charge of what's going to be given down below. That's Malchus on both sides. Influences that way, that also. That's a Melech, a full-blown Melech, from the top and from the bottom.
And the husband.
Influences the husband too, correct. Influences the husband. The Malchus doesn't behave, the wife doesn't behave, so the husband's behavior changes also. He doesn't have the same positive feelings as he had before because she's not keeping her agreement. She's not behaving herself. So that's how we get to here in the mouth, also the Malchus, and we spoke about the Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. Remember, trying to keep everything together, always trying to get everything together, and to strengthen that bond all the time. And one of the ways to do it is when you're giving tzedakah is think. The money you're giving is the Yud, your outstretched hand is a Vav and a Hey, outstretched the arm, the Hey is the hand, and the receiving end is the other Hey. Very good, beautiful. Okay, now how are we doing in time? Let's see where we are. We still have time. Okay. Now you'll understand. Look at the second page. You have 143.
Yeah.
Could it also, going back to the wife, could it also be the husband's not giving properly, even though he doesn't realize it?
In practical terms, of course, it's possible, but in that's only the mashal. Down here, it's possible, but for Hashem, it's not possible. Hashem is always giving. He's always giving, and He's never stops. He never stops giving. He's constantly giving and sharing and doing wonderful things. The problem is us. We make the blockages. We cause the blockages. He's always giving. Now the Kutzker Rebbe, you understand Yiddish? No. All right.
A missile.
Kutzker Rebbe, he was 4 years old. Genius. 4 years old. They asked the Kutzker Rebbe, I'll say it in Yiddish first because that's the original, then I'll translate it. They asked the Kutzker Rebbe, Avi is God. They asked the Kutzker Rebbe, where's God? You ask a child, they're playing games with a child. Where's your Abba? Where's your Ima? Where? Where's your brother? Where's your sister? Who are? They asked the Kutzker Rebbe, where's God? Where's God? Then we answered. We answered.
We let him in.
Right. Vi melosta marai. He said,
Wherever you let him in.
God is wherever you let him in. In other words, He's around. You got to open the door for Him. If you don't open the doors, He's not going to come in. You got to be a proper receptacle. If you're a proper receptacle, He's with you. He's there. He's always giving the flow. Never stops. The problem is, you close the doors. You turn your back on Him. Well, what do you want? Then you're complaining. Why did this happen to me? Think about what you did. How do you live?
So it's Malchut the state where we let Hashem in?
Excuse me?
Malchut is the state where we allow Hashem in.
Well, in a sense, yes.
One time I had this dream that this conduit went from my head out and came and turned out from my mouth. And the Shem was trying to come down and go like this, but he wasn't this flow or whatever couldn't get through. I shouldn't say Shem, whatever it was, couldn't get through. And around it, there's a valve on it. I said, well, the valve's closed. They came because of your sin. That's what came to in my dream. I was like, oh shoot, I'm stopping the Shem from flowing because of my sin.
Well, that's it. You just got it. You hit it on the nose. On the nose, you hit it. Okay. All right. Take a look now on your page 143. Now you'll see you appreciate so much what we just learned. Look at your page 143. Ayin test. You see the ayin test? Ayin test. Look at ayin test. Kavanas hatfila. You see that? Ayin test? Kavanas hatfila gam kain. It also, it's not only this, but it's also lechaber yud shu chachma el hey shuhu hamalchus shuhu adibur. You see that? Al yedei hakol. So you are connecting chachma to bina through the conduit of your voice. You make noise, and the noise comes out as a word. So you have the chachma, and you have the hay is the malchus. The chachma is processed by the bina. It comes out through the voice, and the voice is like the vav. The vav, and that's what you're doing. Shuabina shelo. V'hu sod ekye havaya adni. Okay, that we don't want to get into. All right, that's too much already. I don't want to give you too much. You won't be able to take it. Now, the next thing, how, is extremely, extremely important. Number pay. Ayatas pay, extremely important. We're going to learn something now which is so powerful. If you use it properly, you have the mamish, you have the ability to change the reality. We're going to learn something now in Ois Pei, in the Baal Shem. He's going to tell us you have the ability to change the reality. Let's look at this very, very well. How much time do we have?
2 minutes.
All right, let's go. Yechavein betfila. You have to realize in your davening, Shema'orer oisiyos shenivru behem shamayim v'aretz. When you are davening, you are arousing the letters which were the creating blocks for the world. What did Hashem use? What were the tools that he used to create the world? He created, before he created the world, he created an aleph base. With the aleph base, the energies in the letters of the aleph base and the combinations of those letters, the letters themselves had energies in them with their various combinations, created the world. Nivru b'hem shemayim v'aretz v'chol habruim kulam elyonim v'tachtonim kol ha'olamos kulam. Everything, all the spiritual worlds that we said that were created and destroyed, everything in the physical world, everything was created by the aleph base. If you know the aleph base well, you know the secrets of the entire creation. It has the keys to everything. And therefore, when you are saying words, you're using those words, those aleph bases, you're giving them activity, you're making them active, operational. When you are praying to God, and you're praising God, in other words, those letters in the aleph base, after they created the world, did they vanish? No, the aleph base exists. It's still here. What is the aleph base? The aleph base is a system of 22 concepts. What is a letter? We have it written down, but before it was written down, it was a concept. It's a concept, an entity. The aleph looks this way, the base looks this way. That's the way we are presented. But these are energies. They exist, they're still existing, they're still here. And when we say words, we are stirring them up. We're stirring up those tools that Hashem used to create the world. By our saying words. We are, whenever you speak, even you speak Monday every single day, words, you are activating those tools that Hashem used to create the world. This is very important. Look what he says. You are arousing the letters. The osios themselves, they are the life force of all the creations. Im Cain, if that's so, Im Kulam, with all the things that you say, you are therefore now elevating the entire world by saying these things in Torah or in Tefillah. Look, now we're getting to the incomplete. By those people who daven with kavanah, they really put their mind into the davening. They concentrate. They also, listen to this, they're also arousing those people who are low creatures. Low creatures. Those creatures were also created with the Aleph base. That means people, that means animals, every fish, birds, insects, everything was created with the energies of the Aleph base. And if I say the words of the Aleph base, I am somehow tickling those energies which are in these people.
Rabbi?
Yes.
What's a low creature?
A low creature?
Yeah.
Let's say a cockroach. A cockroach is a low creature. A person who's someplace, and we call it in America, we call it in New York the Bowery. The Bowery in New York was a place where drunkards hung out.
Yeah.
That's a low creature. Not because he's in essence low, but he made himself low.
The people can be low creatures also?
Yes, there could be low people who are very low people because they live corrupt lives, so they made themselves low.
Okay.
Not because in essence they all have they're all in the Tzelem Elokim. You have to respect every person. But if you want to look at a hierarchy, a comparison between people like you, or people who are drunkards and take narcotics all day long, and that's all they do, and so they're the low creatures, and you're a high person, you're a king. But when you say your words in davening or learning, you are arousing those energies that made those people. And those energies are still active. Now listen, he's saying something. Look what he says. By you are also influencing the ability of those people now to become better people. By you using the same energies, you're connected to them. You're not disconnected. Why am I connected to somebody in Australia? Do I know what's going on in Australia? It's all one. Everything is all one. It's all part of the system. The system never separates. It's all part of the system of 10. When you do something here, you affect everything in the world. Everything. Because they're all made from the same tools. Everything. And the tools are active the whole time. And by you doing it properly, and the more intensity, you are in some way influencing those low people to become better people. Listen, look. Habal Shem Tov, look what he says. Wait, let's just finish the last two lines. Habal Shem Tov, Gila, he revealed. Zeh gam ken v'yamar the Talmidim. He said to his Talmidim, Tzorech atol litpalel, you have to be mispal afil al of haporeach, even on a bird. Hamitzavtzeif, which is tweeting, which is chirping. V'chein b'divrei Torah, livnei Adam. You have to learn a lot of intensity, because your intensity arouses those tools which created them. Moil kavanah zu lahoilam, v'his here bazeh harbei. And he told his Talmidim over and over and over again, the more intensity that you have, the more kavanah that you have, without thinking about them at all, automatically is going to influence them to become better people. You can change the reality. Those people are low people, but you davening with a lot of intensity, a lot of kavanah, is going to have an effect on those low people also. They don't even know where it's coming from. They won't know where it's coming from, but it's going to somehow all of a sudden get an idea. Maybe I have to change my ways. Wherever it's going to happen. It's because if you did it here, and without you don't know who they are, you don't even know they exist, you never heard of them, could be any place in the world, doesn't make a difference. We're all queuing in, we're all queued into the same letters.
So you're not only affecting the low people, you're affecting the high people.
They're affecting everything.
Everything.
But even those, the point is even those, even the low people, even the animals, everything. So if you daven really well, you put a lot of energy into the davening, put a lot of energy into the learning, you have an effect on the entire Bria, even the lowest creatures. And he told his Talmidim this over and over and over and over and over again. If you have intention, you direct your kavanas, you want your energies to be beneficial to them, it's even more powerful. So you daven well, you have somebody in your mind, you want your energies to influence them, so then you are lasering your energies, not to be generally spread all over. You're putting a laser on it to influence them. As you keep doing it over and over and over and over, it's going to penetrate. It's going to have an effect. This is Baal Shem Tov. He told us how many this over. He said, "Hizir b'hem harbe." He told them many times. He told them about this. The more intensity you put into it, the more an effect it's going to have on the entire bria, even the lowest creatures.
So, same in prayer, okay, and I say the book in Hebrew, but then I start praying for each individual of my family and everywhere in the world. I say it in English.
You don't even have to. You don't even have to do that.
Use any language.
You have to do what you are doing with the greatest intensity that you can, and think that you want your energies that you're creating when you say the words should go over to them. You don't have to mention their name. Just have it in mind when you're davening. You want to go over to them also. Also, not only that. That's it, Rabbi Seifer, today.